The floorboard above her bed creaked every single night at 3 a.m. And then there was the breathing, the rhythmic rise and fall of a chest expanding and contracting just above her head. No matter how much she tried to tune it out, the breathing always pulled her from her sleep. It wasn't like she could talk to anyone about it either. She didn't want to sound like a paranoid freshman who was making up some horror story to get out of her raw, so she kept it to herself, lying awake in her bed, listening to the sounds above her. Sometimes it was accompanied by muffled sobs, quiet sniffles that made no sense. Other times she heard what sounded like whispers, soft murmurs she couldn't quite make out. Her name was Amelia, and she'd moved into her dorm a few weeks ago. It had been fine at first. She hadn't heard anything besides the usual noises you hear when living with other people. Loud music, raised voices, door slamming. Then, after the second week of school started, everything changed. One minute she was laying in her bed, getting ready for bed. The next she was sitting up straight, listening intently. Someone was walking around on the floor above her. She listened closely. Footsteps. Had she imagined it? No. There they were again. Soft thuds of feet hitting carpet. But there was nobody above her. Hurrah had assured her that their dorm was the only one occupied on their floor. They'd even joked about having an entire floor to themselves. No nosy neighbors or creepy At first, she'd thought it was her imagination, that because she was alone on the floor, her mind was playing tricks on her. But then she started hearing the breathing, the deep, slow rhythm of air being drawn in and released. At first, she'd assumed it was someone's pet, a dog or a cat, maybe even a ferret. But then why would it stop and start at random hours in the middle of the night? And why did she sometimes hear the soft whimpers? And then there were the whispers. She never understood them, but they sounded like secrets being shared between two people. Occasionally, she'd hear raised voices coming from above her, too, sharp exclamations followed by the unmistakable crack of skin meeting flesh. Sometimes she heard what sounded like pleading. Other times, angry shouts. All these sounds seemed to come from different people. There were deep voices and high ones, too, male and female, voices that sent shivers down her spine. When she finally worked up the courage to tell Hurrah, the woman rolled her eyes and walked away. "You're just hearing things," Hurrah said dismissively. "I'm sure it's just the pipes." She left without another word, and Amelia was left feeling stupid. But now she can't sleep. Not anymore. The noise continued night after night, growing louder and more frequent. At first, she thought she could just pretend she didn't hear anything, that if she ignored the sounds, they'd eventually go away. But then the whispering got worse, and one night she heard what sounded like a scream, followed by heavy footsteps on the floor above her. This was too much. She was going to find out what was going on. That night, when the whispers started, Amelia didn't stay in her bed. Instead, she got up and went to the door. She pressed her ear against the wood, trying to listen for anything. She heard what sounded like a woman's voice saying something she couldn't quite understand. Another voice, deeper and scratchier, replied. This time, she caught a word. "Leave." The word echoed through the room above hers. "Leave me alone." The woman's voice was sharp and panicked. "Don't touch me." Amelia pressed her forehead against the cool surface of the door. She needed answers. Carefully, she opened the door and stepped out into the hallway. Moonlight streamed in through the windows set high on the walls, bathing the carpeted hallway in silver light. The door to her dorm was slightly ajar, revealing the darkened room behind it. Beyond her door, the hallway stretched in both directions, disappearing into shadow. She hesitated for a moment, debating with herself, before starting down the hall. As she walked, the scratching sound started again, along with the muffled sobs. It was coming from somewhere deeper in the building. As she rounded a corner, she saw a faint light coming from under one of the doors. It was open just a crack, not enough for her to see inside, but just enough for her to hear the whispering voices. Pushing her fears aside, she pushed the door open wider. The room was empty except for a trash can in the corner and a desk with a computer on it. On the screen was a picture of a girl with long, flowing hair and kind eyes. Underneath the photo was a name, Sarah. Beside it, a date, September 2001. Amelia looked around the room. There was no sign of a struggle, no overturned furniture or anything out of place. The only thing that looked amiss was the open window. A cold draft blew in from outside, sending a shiver down Amelia's spine. Suddenly, she heard a noise behind her. Startled, she whirled around to see who was there. When she turned, she saw the same hallway she'd been in before, the one she'd just come from. It was just as dark, just as empty. Amelia stood frozen in place, unsure of what to do. Was this a dream? A hallucination brought on by lack of sleep? But then she remembered the picture of the girl and the date underneath it. This was real. Panic started to rise in her chest. squeezing the breath from her lungs. She wanted to call out for help, but no sound came out. Her throat was dry. She tried to move, to run, but her legs felt heavy as if anchored to the ground. She struggled against whatever force was holding her there. Fear clawed at her, desperate to break free. Then she heard the whisper again, closer this time. Don't trust her. The voice seemed to slither through the air, wrapping itself around her like a cold, slimy snake. She hurt you. She'll take everything from you. Another voice, this one deeper and more menacing, cut through the whispers. She won't hurt you. I won't let her. The first voice laughed, a high, tinkling sound that echoed through the empty hallway. Oh, but you will. You'll hurt her too. The voices grew louder, more insistent, pressing against her mind, trying to force their way in. With a Herculean effort, Amelia ripped herself from the spot she'd been rooted to and ran down the hallway. She didn't know where she was going, but anywhere was better than here. As she ran, the voices pursued her, taunting her, telling her horrible things. She's not safe, they hissed. No one is. Then they stopped. Suddenly, the silence was deafening. Amelia slowed to a stop, her heart pounding against her ribs. She listened intently. Nothing. Just the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. Taking a deep breath, she tried to calm herself. It had just been a bad dream, a figment of her overactive imagination. She was safe. Slowly, she turned to go back to her room. When she saw the open door at the end of the hall, the one with the girl in the picture, she remembered the unfinished business from earlier, the unanswered questions. Hesitantly, she started toward it. The room looked different now, not quite right. The desk was pushed away from the wall and the computer was gone. In its place, a stack of papers lay on the desk. Curiosity piqued. Amelia walked over and picked up the top sheet. It was a newspaper article dated September 2001. The headline read, "Student missing after 1 month at college." Beneath it, a grainy, black and white photo of the girl from the picture on the wall. The article told the story of Sarah Hayes, a bright-eyed freshman, who'd moved into Northwood College the beginning of September. She'd called home every weekend until the last, when her calls had gone unanswered. Her parents had traveled from out of state to check in on her when classes started back up. When they arrived at her dorm, they found her missing. The door was locked from the inside, and when maintenance finally got it open, they found this room empty except for the computer and a few personal belongings. The investigation into her disappearance was still ongoing, but police were growing concerned. Amelia shivered, suddenly cold. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She could almost feel Sarah's gaze boring into her back. Slowly, she turned around to face the door, her heart pounding in her chest. But before she could take a step, the door slammed shut. She jumped, knocking the newspaper to the ground. As she bent to pick it up, she heard a noise behind her. Turning slowly, she saw the door was now wide open. She wasn't alone. In the doorway stood a girl with long, flowing hair and kind eyes. She smiled sadly at Amelia. "Hello," she whispered. "I've been waiting for you."